Welcome to Forbes Talks. Joining me now is Jabari Young, senior writer here at Forbes. Jabari, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Brittany. I'm used to sitting on the other side, right? But now I'm sitting on the interviewer side.
I know. I'm excited to have you on that side.
Thank you.
So the Forbes 2023 30 Under 30 list just dropped, and you wrote the cover for Megan Thee Stallion, who was the first black woman to ever be featured on the cover of 30 Under 30.
Yeah.
So it seemed like this year was really her year. Can you tell us more?
You know, it was interesting researching her. You know, I'm a hip hop fan, so you know, going into it, I had a excitement about it because I love researching hip hop. I love talking about hip hop. I love listening to the music, and so she's obviously one of the new artists of this generation. You have a generation out there that loves the music that she brings, right? It's very explicit, right? And we don't make no bones about that. And it's very free, and it's very, self-empowering for her audience. And so, that was unique because, I go back to the days of 2 Live Crew when you would hear certain language from hip-hops and brands wanted nothing to do with it. And now to see all of these companies lining up to not only do deals with Megan Thee Stallion, but a lot of hip-hop artists, that was intriguing. And to see the business behind Megan Thee Stallion and how she's growing it was really good. So, 2022 has been her year, right? And she's coming off of a turbulent 2019 where she, has some losses in her family. 2020, obviously, some personal things. And then she's still going through a record, lawsuit with her label. So, it's certainly good to catch her in transition, but when I was at Saturday Night Live with her, you can really see all of her talents come out. And I really believed at that moment, man, she is really multi-talented. You hear it, she says it, but to see it with my own eyes and to experience it, you really say she has some things lined up. And if she can take advantage, listen, hip-hop turns 50 in 2023, right? It's 50th anniversary, and she's well-positioned. If she can take advantage, I think it's, the sky's the limit.
To that point, people really know her first and foremost as this hip-hop artist. Yeah. So what about her did you find was more than that?
Her, listen, I look at it all from the human being side, right? We all can be, you're a journalist, I'm a journalist, Megan is a hip-hop artist or an entertainer, but at the end of the day, we all human beings. So what are the human traits that connected me with her? What stood out? And I thought, it was a story that didn't make the actual article about just her college experience in 2019, where her, professor, Melanie Lawson, hello, professor. Sorry you did not get in the article. I tried, but she came to school when she was Megan Thee Stallion in 2019. Her professor knew nothing about her, did not know she was Megan Thee Stallion. She came to school and sat in the same row in the classroom of college every single session, same row, same seat. What does that show? Right? It shows consistency. It shows dedication. It shows that she was really putting forth the effort. Because I was a student, I never sat in the front row. I hated it. And she said something that stood out. She said, the reason I sat in the front row is because I wanted the teacher to make sure I was paying attention. Because if I know I'm being watched, I'm going to pay more attention instead of sitting in the back like me when I was in college where you're not paying attention. So I felt like that stood out. That consistency that she showed, the promise that she had to her grandmom to get her college degree while you're Megan Thee Stallion, right? Because when you're an entertainer, that life takes on itself and you don't have time to do anything else. So the fact that she went in school, not just virtual, it eventually went virtual because of the pandemic, but she went into class every single time, not as Megan Thee Stallion, but as Megan Pete, and showed that consistency. That stood out.
That's really interesting. Randall Lane, the CCO of Forbes, also the creator of the Under 30 franchise, said to me that the key factor of all of the under 30s is that drive. That clearly shows that. Yeah. He also said that he described the list as the epitome of who's next in the world. Yeah. How does Megan Thee Stallion fit that bill?
She's coming, listen, she's only been out 2018, so we're talking about 5 years, 6, and so I don't think, I don't want to put her too much out there to say, hey, she's going to be the next big thing. I don't want to put that pressure on her because people forget, Brittany, she's 27 years old, right? She still has a lot of growing and growth to develop, to do within her career, within herself. And so, like I said, she's well positioned. She has that drive, as Mr. Lane pointed out, is one of the ingredients, the 30 under 30 list. She has that drive. And now I want to see what she does with it, because you can get into a position where, it just doesn't work anymore. So what I want to see now in the spirit of hip hop is that show improve attitude. She got to continue to show improve. It means you got to continue to do it in 2023. More hits, more excitement. She has a headline tour possibly coming, right? Her first. What do you do with that? Because headline tours are much different than when you're showing up, that the bill's different. You're the name. You are the one that people are coming to see. What does that audience look like? Is she going to sell out, right? Can she sell out a stadium? This is a key moment to track in her career, because you're going to see how it develops. You're going to see what her audience is. You're going to see if those tickets start to roll around with those when the headline tour comes out, maybe in 2023. And then you'll start to see, I think, where Megan Thee Stallion is going to go. You know what I mean?
I really want to talk about that. She has grown a massive following on social media. Yeah. She has this loyal audience that she's dubbed the Hotties.
Yeah.
The Hotties.
I love them. I like the Hotties. Yeah.
Love the name. So how do you think she's really grown that loyal fan base?
You know, listen, they gravitate to her. You know, people love authenticity. They love authenticity. You know, if you're authentic, you know, you seem to have, you know, a crowd that will follow that. Because, again, we're in a different generation. And the tone is different, especially in the spirit of hip-hop, right? The lyrics are different, and it's a different MC. They're women, and they're great, right? And it's a new, just the feeling as hip-hop approaches 50 years old in 2023 is different, and Megan Thee Stallion is a part of that, right? And so in her fan base, I think gravitated to, you know, her being as authentic as she is. She comes from Houston, and you can clearly hear that in her sound. And so now it's about developing a more of a broader audience, right? Not just the hotties, but you're trying to get that general consumer that may not want to be a Megan Thee Stallion hottie, but they like her. They can relate to her, right? She's relatable. She's marketable, right? That's the next stage. And if she does that the correct way, I don't see there's any reason that you cannot start to see trajectory in that billionaire category, like Beyonce, like Rihanna, right? Like Jay-Z. You know, why can't she do that if she plays her cards right?
And like those artists, Beyonce, Jay-Z, Rihanna, they really built an empire for themselves. Yeah. They started in music and then built out. How is she building her business?
Well, you can see that businesses are gravitating towards her because of where her stature is in hip-hop, right? The Netflixes of the world, Frito-Lay, you know, Nike, a couple of other deals that I can't mention yet that are coming down the pipe for her. So I think they see her. I think they see her fan base. I think they see her social media following. And if I'm a brand and I'm trying to get to my next consumer, right, that Generation Z that's eventually going to be 30 years old, right, or 20 like you, Brittany, right, and they're going to spend money. And who am I capturing that through? And they're going through Megan Thee Stallion because she has so many social media followers, right? She has the hottie fan base. If I'm a company, I'm going directly to Megan Thee Stallion and saying, hey, what can I do to align? Because I want to make sure my product is seen through your fan base because that's 50 million plus people.
And following Megan Thee Stallion and watching your interview, something that really jumped out to me is her authenticity. But what surprised you the most when you were profiling her?
You know, I said something interesting. I asked her what was it like being a CEO, because technically that's what she is. She's a CEO of her own brand, and she said she's kind of nervous. It's nerve-wracking because one wrong thing, whether it be social media, something like that, and it completely can get wiped out, you know? And so I felt like that the amount of pressure that she's wearing as a 27-year-old superstar, and to walk around thinking like you cannot make one mistake, otherwise you fear that it can go, I think that's a heavy burden. And so the fact that she's carrying that and she's doing it with a smile on her face and still, you know, she's mad cool from what I know of her and seen of her, the fact that she's still doing that and carrying that burden around, I mean, that's impressive. That is, because listen, I was 27. I could not have that the weight of the world basically on your shoulder, and you know, one wrong thing, and you've seen it with the Drake tweet, it can blow up and it can get taken out of context, and to have that amount of, you know, eyes on you all the time, that's a lot.
The vulnerability is really inspiring,
Yeah.
and she was first featured on the list back in 2020, and now years later she's on the cover. So what about her do you think gives her that staying power?
Well, I mean, listen, hip-hop gives her that staying power. Let's not forget the doors that she came through. You know, hip-hop is clearly the music of today's generation. You don't believe that? Just go to any playground, watch and listen to the 10-year-olds, just look at what they listen to, right? It's hip-hop.
Go on TikTok.
Absolutely. TikTok, and wherever you go, there's hip-hop. Look at sports. They're integrating hip-hop music, more and more hip-hop music. I turn on a commercial now, I hear Coolio. God bless his life, right? It's hip-hop, right? You got to continue to make sure that you represent through the essence of hip-hop, and I think if you do that, the sky's the limit for her, but you got to make sure that you don't forget where you came from, right? She came in through hip-hop. She got to make sure that she satisfies the hip-hop fan base, satisfies her business through hip-hop, and, you know, again, it's turning 50 years old in 2023. It's going to be 100. It's going to be popular. It's going to remain relevant for a long time. It's not going anywhere. It's only a new generation coming behind it. Megan Thee Stallion is clearly with that.
And the under 30 is touted as reshaping their respective industries and the world. So how do you think Megan Thee Stallion specifically is doing that?
Well, she has some scholarships, and I know she has her foundation, but, listen, she wants to open nursing homes. I think she really wants to give back to her community. She really wants to go back to Houston and throughout Texas and Dallas and spread those nursing homes and open it. She got the Popeyes franchise. She's coming right, one of the few black females in the quick, serve restaurant space. So, listen, she's giving back, right? She's doing, but again, 27, she's still trying to build her empire. Before she does that, right, before she looks too much into trying to change the world, I think she has to make sure that she's positioned to do that. Because if you're positioned to do it, then, you can go do it. But don't try too hard. Don't go too fast. I love where she's at right now. I love, where the stage she is in her career. The fact that she does give back. The fact that she's thinking long term, making her promise to her grandmom and opening those nursing homes. So I love that. But I hope she doesn't go too fast.
And the list really is a glimpse into the future. So I know you're saying you don't want her to go too fast, but what do you think is initially on the horizon for Megan Thee Stallion? And then let's say she's 27, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. What's next for her?
This is a conversation me and her had. I really would love if she were to remake the movie 13 Ghosts, right? Acting and directing is really... She has an excitement about that, right? When I talk to her about acting and directing anime, like she lights up like the 27-year-old kid that's just, going back to her roots, just tracing, looking at cartoons, eating hot Cheetos. So, I really feel like the acting, the film route, the Hollywood route, I mean, we've seen a lot of other people make that transition from, Queen Latifah, an idol of hers, Ice Cube, another idol of hers, and the list goes on and on and on. Will Smith, Philly. But I feel like that is a lane that she can really capitalize on. And the thing is she wants it. She has that. She's devoted to it. And I know because when we talk about movies, her favorite horror movie, 13 Ghosts. And I asked her, why don't you remake it? And she's like, I might do that because it's really never been remade. And I did finally get a chance to watch that. It's a really scary movie. So I want to see where she definitely, ends up on the Hollywood scene. She has a documentary coming out, right? And she also has a potential deal with Netflix to, create a show about her life. You know what I mean? About coming up. I mean, think about like Everybody Hates Chris, that show. Maybe it's something like that. So the film and the Hollywood route is certainly a path for her. I want to see if she can go there and make some noise too. Maybe win an Oscar, an Emmy.
Do you think the film avenue would be another plan A for her? Something interesting about your interview was she talked about having not a plan B, but 2 plan A's. Yeah. So can you speak to that?
I feel like, man, I've heard that before, right? Denzel Washington said that a long time ago when I first heard it. You don't want to think about a plan B is when I heard him say it because that's almost like thinking that your plan A won't work. You already so you always say, no, they're equal plan A's. I love that mentality, right? And that just shows you that Megan Thee Stallion refuses to fail. She's not looking at second or third option. She's looking at her one option. That's why I say, listen, film in Hollywood, she says she wants to do it. Nothing has stopped. Look at her track record. She's here thus far. So when she says Oscar and an Emmy by age 30, I believe her.
I do too, and I think that's the perfect embodiment of the 30 under 30 list. 2 plan A's, no plan B.
No,
well, Jabari, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah,
Jabari, thank you. That was fun.